You know how sometimes spiritual principles and life strategies can feel like a total mess? Just a chaotic jumble of disconnected ideas? Well, what if I told you there's a pre existing, fully formed spiritual operating system that's already been designed, just waiting for you to install it and run it? That is exactly what we are going to unpack today.
This quote right here really gets to the heart of it. This whole explainer isn't about us trying to invent something new from scratch. Not at all. It's about recognizing and organizing a powerful conceptual architecture that's already there, one that beautifully merges ancient wisdom with modern-day strategy.
So, our goal today is pretty simple. We're going to decode this system. We're going to take all these profound ideas from scripture, from Zen, from strategic thinking, and we're going to map them out as a single, unified, and, most importantly, a totally usable operating system.
And this represents a huge shift in thinking. We're moving away from what you could call mystical chaos, disconnected ideas, emotion-driven reactions, and we're stepping into structured alignment. This is all about turning abstract philosophy into a unified framework with actionable practices you can use every single day. So, how is this operating system structured? Well, the source material lays it out as a 5-layer architecture. And you can really think of it just like the OS on your computer or your phone, where each layer builds on the last to make the whole thing work seamlessly. So here are the 5 layers at a glance. It all kicks off with the source field, which is the fundamental energy of everything. You access that energy through your inner temple. That's your personal control panel. From there, the signal moves to the higher chambers, which is like the system's processing engine. And that engine guides the action layer out in the real world. And to make the whole thing smarter, there's a feedback loop, so the system can learn and evolve. Let's break each one of these down. First up, we have layer 1, the source field. This is the root layer of the entire system. Conceptually, it's the origin point of everything. It's described as this living, intelligent field that connects all things. You've probably heard it called by different names, right? Spirit, logos, chi. They're all pointing to the same idea of a foundational, intelligent energy that powers everything else. Next up, layer 2, the inner temple. So if the source field is the massive power grid, the inner temple is your personal user interface. It's your internal control panel where you actually connect to that source. This is the space inside you where visions take shape, where your intuition speaks to you, and where your imagination starts generating the blueprints for your life. Now we get to the CPU of the system, layer 3, the higher chambers. This is the processing engine, and it's a crucial bridge that takes the raw data and divine intelligence from those first 2 layers and processes it all into a clear, focused intention that gets your mind, your body, and your actions all into alignment. And all of that internal processing leads right here to the output. Layer 4 is the action layer. It's where that inner alignment finally produces outer results. In scripture, you might hear this called faith with works. In Zen, it's known as right action. This is the point where a powerful intention becomes a tangible reality. And finally, every great operating system needs to learn and update itself. That's layer 5, the feedback loop. Every single action you take creates a result, gives you a sign, and teaches you a lesson. All of that feedback flows back into the system, constantly upgrading your awareness, your clarity, and your power. This single sentence from the source material just sums up the entire flow perfectly. It's this continuous, really elegant cycle. Divine intelligence comes in, it becomes an intention, it's expressed through what you do, and then it returns as signs that help you evolve. Okay, so we get the architecture now, but how do you actually use it? Let's get practical and see how this all builds into a daily practice, starting with the morning boot-up ritual. This is how you bring your personal OS online each and every day. The morning routine is incredibly simple and actionable. You start with just 1 minute of stillness, just to stabilize your nervous system and create a clean slate. Then 1 minute for a declaration, where you program your core intention for the day, kind of like setting your North Star. You follow that with 2 minutes of wisdom input, maybe reading a single verse or principle for direction. And you finish with 2 minutes of a vision snapshot, just picturing who you're becoming and what you're building, creating a clear blueprint for your mind to follow. Okay, so once the system is booted up, how do you run it throughout the day? This is where we dive deeper into layer 3, the system's core processor, the higher chambers. This is your engine for clear decision-making and intentional action. This table here is basically the detailed map of your thinking architecture. It shows the whole journey from raw data all the way to a 3D result. It starts in chamber 1 with perception. You're just receiving signals, whether it's intuition, something you read, or just events happening. Then you move to interpretation, where you translate those signals into meaning. In Chamber 3, you consciously form an intention, which leads to full body alignment in Chamber 4, and finally, manifestation in Chamber 5.
And here's the software application that runs on that hardware. It's a thinking sequence you can use for any situation. You simply ask, what is happening? Just the facts. Then, what does this mean? Next, what do I choose? Then, how do I act correctly? And finally, you just do the action. This whole process replaces reactive emotion with structured intentional thinking. So, the final piece of the daily cycle is the end-of-day review. This is layer 5, the feedback loop, in action. It's how the system self-corrects, learns from the day, and becomes more powerful over time. The nightly review is a simple 5-minute process. You just ask yourself 4 powerful questions. What did I do well today? What failed? What did I learn from it? And what will I improve tomorrow? Now, the crucial part here is to physically write down the answers. That act of writing is what truly locks in the learning and upgrades the system for the next day. So there you have it. The complete daily cycle is actually beautifully elegant. You align the system in the morning with that boot-up ritual. You execute throughout the day using the higher chamber thinking sequence, and you evolve the system at night with the review. Align, execute, evolve. And then you just repeat. And that really brings us to the most important part. This isn't just a theoretical model, it's a usable operating system. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What is the very first intention you're going to run through this system? The engine is live. So what will you create?